Welcome. This is the Canby Urban Renewal Agency special meeting of September 12th, 2012. The first item on the agenda is a Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could remain standing for a moment of silence for our military personnel around the world and our diplomatic corps also around the world. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is citizen input on non-agenda items, and I have a request from Mr. Backstrom.
Sorry.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I just clipped my finger in my binder. Sorry about that.
Why did you never call 911?
No, I think he's right there behind you. Rob's right there. He's on it. I'm good, though.
We have medics on site for Counselor Hobson, just in case.
Wait for him.
Yeah. Ooh.
Brian's degree was not in mechanical engineering.
No, it's not, actually. That's why I got into politics.
All right. Moving right along.
We have a request. We have a request from Robert Backstrom that there are several people that want to address on non-agenda items, and he's asked that they aggregate the time and give it to Bob to make an address to us. So, are all of the cards I have for that issue? Is it Carolyn Backstrom?
Yes.
Barbara Rogers?
Yes.
Sally Douglas?
Yes.
Jim McKibben? John Savory?
Yes.
Winnie Savory?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Backstrom?
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm here to represent several neighbors from my neighborhood association. Although we haven't met officially to send me here, they are members and they did talk to me, and we have had ongoing discussions about this. So I'm here to talk to you tonight about some concerns that they have. My name is Robert Backstrom. I live at North Birch Street, and Mr. Ayers has informed me that I only have 15 minutes. I was expecting 20. Or even 21, because it traditionally has been 3 minutes per person. I'm limited to 15 minutes tonight, and this is going to be very close, so I'm going to speak very rapidly to get it all in. I'm going to skip a lot of stuff that I've done, but I've been on the Traffic Safety Committee for this city. I've been on the Road Maintenance Committee. I've been on other ad hoc city groups. I'm chairman of the Riverside Neighborhood Association for the past 8 years, and I have followed the progress of the Canby URA. My neighbors, family, and friends are very disturbed about UR financing and asked me to get information for them. Gary Empey was a principal in this town many years ago. Some of you will remember Gary, and he was a superintendent. He came over to Malala, where I was an administrator, one day, and he said, "I'd like you to bring some people over to talk to our constituents about the year-round school, because we're short of classrooms." I said, "We'll be happy to do that." We were experts. We were on the year-round program. He said, "I want you to do me a favor." I said, "What's that?" He says, "I want you to bring 3 people who are absolutely in love with the year-round school and sell it to as much as they can, sell that program." And I said, "Okay, we can do that." And he says, "And then I want you to bring 3 more people who are absolutely against it and who hate year-round school. I want you to give our constituents both sides of the issue and do a really thorough job, because these are the citizens of Canby and they deserve to have all the information on the table. They are the stakeholders in this. We are concerned about the diverted funds that are lost to city services because of urban renewal debt. The total amount of diverted funds, according to Mr. Ellis, is $50 million. Could go as high as $80 million if the balance is spent. It was a red flag for many of us when we heard at the last meeting about all the new projects that you are considering. We believe that from the very beginning there should have been more thorough examinations and public presentations of the negative impacts of urban renewal prior to creating any debt. Canby citizens have had to learn on their own that there is a negative side that our city leaders rarely, if ever, mention. Most of this board's discussions and presentations have only told of the wonderful benefits of urban renewal, yet we're learning that these wonderful benefits come with a huge price tag and the money is not free. Through study and public presentations of the downside of this issue, although those are glaringly absent from any examination of Canby's urban renewal history. For example, we only recently learned that the time period of the debt extends until the bonds are paid off, not when the URD terminates. We did not know that, and now we know that the urban renewal debt could impact our government services until at least 2036, when the existing last bond is paid off. We fear that this debt will get larger and extend farther into the future, impacting Canby residents for decades, with only a 4-3 vote required to do that. We have several questions we don't expect you to answer tonight. We would appreciate your best approximations. I'll leave you those questions, and sometime in the future when you don't have a minute, which might be 4 or 5 years from now, we'd appreciate those answers. If you took the original properties in the URD as a baseline, what would be the approximate yearly amount of those diverted funds? What would be the approximate total of those diverted funds? If we look at all of the diverted funds in the URD, how much is the average annual loss to the city? How much is the total loss to the city? How many years will the city be paying off bonds? What happens if the city does not have the money to pay off the bonds? During the life of the URD, how much money is diverted from the police budget every year? How much money is diverted from the police budget in total? How much money is diverted from the library every year? How much money is diverted from the library in total? Last year, you had to transfer money from the library fund, which caused a huge negative uproar in this city. Library patrons were extremely angry. How much of that library loss was caused by diverted UR funds? How many times will this scenario be repeated, either with the library or the pool or the parks or the police or other city services during the future years when our tax dollars are diverted to pay the UR debt? Do you have contingency plans? How much money is diverted from the swimming pool every year? How much from the swimming pool in total? How much money is diverted from the parks budget annually, the parks budget in total? How much money is diverted from the remainder of city services annually? How much from the remainder of city services in total? How much is diverted from the fire district annually, from the fire district in total? Have you held regular workshops explaining all of this in detail? I've only attended city sessions where everything is wonderful, and none of this is ever mentioned. Why can't city staff prepare binders filled with information like this, with clear figures detailing where the money goes, who gets what, who loses, what are the projections over time, how is the state impacted, how are the schools impacted, how are the fire and police impacted? Our neighborhood liaison, Mrs. Hensley, had a difficult time coming up with any of these answers. Wouldn't it be helpful if our URA commissioners had this information at their fingertips? These binders could be updated every few weeks or months and have a section on the arguments for and the arguments against urban renewal. It might even contain the project director's resume and provide contact information, which would give citizens more confidence that the multi-million-dollar debt project is in good hands. This would be a really good step toward getting the whole truth out to the stakeholders, as Gary Empey did for the city of Canby years ago. The school district impact. The amount that is diverted from the Canby School District, get this, is approximately $500,000 per year. That is according to Bob Roman, Clackamas County Assessor. I talked to him 3 days ago. School Superintendent John Steach did not have this information. We've learned that the school district does recoup most of the lost dollars because the state of Oregon is required to reimburse school districts for urban renewal losses. But as a result of that reimbursement, the amount of state money available for schools decreases every year, thereby diminishing the amount available to all schools in the state, including Canby. The latest figure, 2009, showed a staggering $70 million drained from this fund to replace urban renewal losses statewide for that 1 year only. Where will the legislature get that additional money every year? Senator Alan Olson told me that the legislature will likely have to cut all areas, including education, to make up for these annual losses. And he said the loss is predicted to get larger in future years. So contrary to what we have been led to believe, there is a huge negative drain on school district funding because of urban renewal. Do our school district patrons know that our schools lose money every year because of our URD? Do the teachers know this? Because when they find out, I'm leaving town, and you should too. Can you explain why the Canby School Superintendent did not know this diverted dollar amount? Why did city leaders allow such huge decisions to be made before the impact on our schools was thoroughly studied, vetted, discussed, and disseminated? I remind you again, all the stakeholders deserve the whole truth. Did you know that urban renewal experts discourage municipal projects because they do not generate economic development or new tax revenue? Because of that, repayment will have to be taken from routine property tax revenue that normally supports essential services. What services will be cut next? Do you have a plan that we all can see? Are you aware then that the police station and the library will never create a dime of revenue for our city, but their operating costs will go up and up and up? Funding of municipal projects is the primary sore point of urban renewal, which caused Clackamas County taxpayers to rebel, gather signatures, and successfully pass a referendum to prevent this abuse in the future. It passed by a 70% majority. Did you look at how Canby residents voted? That's available information. That should have been a signal to you folks to pause, take stock of what you're doing, to poll the citizens, to get a pulse of how Canby feels about this. Did you know that there are Oregon Library Association standards that can accelerate the cost to operate a library? Have you studied this to see if our city can afford these additional costs down the road? What happens if we cannot afford to comply? Do we simply rely on our library director's comment last week when she said, well, we'll make cuts and learn to get by? That's not comforting to me. I want to know if you have a contingency plan for all of the residents to view. Did you know that tax revenues from a URD are capped, that URDs will not contribute to future levies and bonds issued by any of the taxing districts? This results in an increased tax burden on property owners outside the URD. That's me, probably all of you. Pay a greater share of these new costs. The bond or levy costs that would have been paid by the property owners inside the URD must now be paid by taxpayers outside the URD. These are mostly residential Canby taxpayers left with the tab. Have you informed your taxpayers about this? Some of the common criticisms of URD is found on Wikipedia. Although generally sold to legislatures as a pool to redevelop blighted areas, some districts are drawn up where development would have happened anyway, such as prime areas at the edges of cities. California had to pass legislation designed to curb this abuse. Normal increases in property values are taken by urban renewal, money that would have gone to the public agencies even without the improvements. Districts are often drawn too large, taking value that would have been increased anyway. The process leads to favoritism for politically connected developers, lawyers, economic development directors, and other implementers. Additional criticisms specific to URs in Oregon include major expenditures can be approved by a simple majority vote, 4-3 of the agency. Listen to this. There are no requirements to demonstrate that the URD is beneficial.
Sorry, say that again.
There are no requirements to demonstrate that the URD is beneficial. There is no requirement to demonstrate that the priority of URD expenditures is greater than the priorities of the taxing districts it impacts. URAs appear to have very high administrative costs. For example, the Eugene URA reports department operating costs of $874,000 for fiscal year '09. This administrative cost is 34% of the total UR revenues, and legal expenses for that year were $270,000. Local urban renewal districts cause additional administrative costs to be incurred by the county tax assessor's office. How much does this cost our county taxpayers? One of the justifications for URDs is that they will increase investment and ultimately increase the tax base for the city when the URD is terminated. However, once created, URDs are rarely terminated. Eugene's downtown URD has been in existence since 1968. It's 44 years old, by a simple majority vote of 4-3. The life of a URD can be extended by a simple 4-3 vote. URDs divert the tax revenues that support the general funds of the various impacting taxing districts. These taxing districts may have no alternative funding to replace these lost revenues when faced with compression and 3% tax increase limits. What is compression? Have you explained this to the citizens of Canby? How much does urban renewal hurt other services? There is no question that urban renewal areas affect public districts that are funded by property taxes. But there seems to be, depending on who's asked, a varying degree of how big that effect is. Mayor Carson has said on more than one occasion that the impact is minimal. Fortunately, the Oregon Department of Revenue keeps year-to-year data on how much urban renewal affects each district. In the 2009-10 fiscal year, $182 million were diverted from various districts to urban renewal in Oregon. Public education alone lost $63 million in potential revenue because of urban renewal activity. Cities lost $58 million in that year, and counties lost $38 million in that year. Does this meet anyone's definition of minimal? The two taxing districts hurt most by urban renewal last year were community colleges and fire districts, which lost $6 million and $5.6 million respectively. Is this minimal? Clackamas Fire District Number 1 lost $1.6 million last year when property taxes were diverted to urban renewal areas in Clackamas County. The amount was the equivalent of what it would cost to buy 2 new huge fire engines. Is this minimal? Urban renewal is basically using firefighters and fire trucks to build infrastructure, said Kyle Gorman, executive director of that fire district. And to keep providing appropriate service levels, these fire districts have to use tax levies to offset the losses in revenues to urban renewal districts. For nearly 2 decades, fire departments, school districts, and other taxing districts in Oregon that rely on property taxes have watched money being diverted from their budgets to urban renewal areas with no say in the matter. For years, there's been an ongoing battle between urban renewal agencies and overlapping taxing districts, said Mark Landauer, a spokesman for the Special Districts Association of Oregon. But, he said, it's been an unfair fight because the Urban Renewal Agency can freeze the taxes without even consulting the taxing districts. Does Canby consult the other taxing districts prior to committing debt that will impact them? Do you tell them the total approximations of their potential loss because of your URD? Now more than ever, urban renewal is being used to fund municipal projects like city halls, police stations, and street art, said Alec Jensen, executive director of Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. These projects don't increase the tax base. In fact, they actually decrease it by taking these lots off of the tax rolls. Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue's new rules say their district will not support an urban renewal area if there's any hint that it will not attract private investment. The guidelines being considered by Clackamas Fire District Number 1 are similar. The 2 fire districts estimate they lose a total of $3.3 million in revenues annually because of current urban renewal areas. Again, I ask you, do these figures sound minimal? Landauer expects other taxing districts, such as school districts, to begin drawing up their own guidelines in the near future, and I quote, the reason is to protect themselves from the dangers of URDs. In conclusion, Mayor Carson, Chairman Ayers, as leaders of Canby, why didn't you, either of you, simply turn to Mr. Ellis and say, Greg, before we commit to spending any more taxpayer dollars, would you please prepare a good argument for and a good argument against implementing any additional aspects of this urban renewal plan? By not taking that simple step, you failed to get the whole truth to the stakeholders. The public has the right to expect that you will thoughtfully prepare for and weigh every decision, that you will not allow your personal biases and preferences to get in the way of objective decision-making. In private practice, this is called due diligence, and employees are terminated when companies fail to do it properly. In this case, presenting one-sided pictures only, while failing to reveal all of the risks involved, is not fair to the intelligent people of Canby. It is irresponsible public policy. For whatever reason, you have failed to get the whole truth out to the citizens of Canby, the very people who will be responsible for paying the bills. Why should we trust you now with the millions of dollars in future projects that you have planned? Sometime soon, we hope that you will tell the city of Canby why you did not tell the whole truth about urban renewal.
Thank you. Any comments, questions?
Just to double check, we are going to, that will be sent to you,
Do
Greg?
you have copies? Are you emailing it?
Sure.
Of the whole thing? I can do that.
Does that, or what do we do from there?
That'll be after I send it to the paper. I'll give it to you.
Any comments? I just have one, and much of what Mr. Backstrom said here were decisions and studies that were made starting 13 to 15 years ago that took effect 11 or 12 years ago. And virtually everything that we have done is within the parameters of what was set out over a decade ago. So, anything else? Okay. Any other people wishing to give comments on non-agenda items? Hearing none, we'll go on into the balance of the agenda. The next item is the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the August 8th, 2012 meeting and the August 22nd, 2012 meeting.
Point of order. I emailed the agency earlier today that there was a scrivener error
Right.
in the August 8th minutes.
Thank you. I didn't
Sorry
want that
about
responsibility.
I put Chair Hensley instead of Commissioner Hensley, so I corrected that earlier today, and the copy you'll sign has the correction made.
Okay, thank you. Motion?
Motion to move that we adopt the consent agenda, minutes of the August 8, 2012 URD agency special meeting. Is that with the change or the 22nd?
As amended.
With the
As
change.
amended.
And minutes from the August 22nd, 2012 URD agency special meeting.
I'd like to second that. I thought Sue did an outstanding job of capturing a lengthy meeting on the 22nd.
Okay, the motion is to, motion by Commissioner Carson and seconded by Commissioner Parker to approve the minutes of the August 8th and the August 22nd URD agency special meetings. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, passes unanimously. We're going to go, Renata, do we want to do the T-line design before we do the beak portion? Do that. We're going to, at the request of one of the applicants of an action tonight, we're going to move into the, under new business, the facade improvement application from T-line Design.
So before you have an application from T-Line Design, what they're proposing is a greatly enhanced paint project on their building. Currently, they have a monotone gray peeling paint surface, and they'd like to go with a green, red, black, and gold treatment. And I'd like to ask Greg to make any comments he would like to about the project.
Well, it'd be nice to get this little eyesore painted up for the city. We appreciate the opportunity to work with you on this. The only comment I had on the paint scheme was I just brought into this in the last few days, was the Hollywood gold color. That was the only thing I was kind of curious about. If we wanted to keep that or tone that down into a different color that I have on this plan.
And what color would that be? Would that be either orange and black, or?
I was
Kind of
gonna
duck green.
More duck green? Okay, I was just checking.
We could wait until the outcome of next week's games.
That's true, we
Or
could.
the end of the season.
Or
kinda
badger
liking this
red,
color.
you know. The only thing I was concerned with was the gold, but I think the drawing that was presented to me makes it look brighter than it really is, probably on paper, but we were, yeah, I was thinking of tobacco brown instead of a gold. I don't know if you guys saw this one, but
I've only seen the
you've
one.
only seen that one, okay.
So,
We're good with it either way, I just didn't know if you had seen this.
I don't think you want politicians designing the color scheme.
That was my thought.
Really? I think I'll help him. Well,
Oh, aesthetically
Alice is
challenged
colorblind.
Alice?
yeah, Greg has commented a number of times about it being aesthetically challenged, and so I leave my color decisions to my wife, so Renata will probably help you with color selection, I
Okay,
think.
yeah, we'll nail it down.
We're here as a policy board.
What else? Oh, it's gonna cost a fortune. We have one bid in right now, for painting was 12 to 13,000, and for woodwork improvements, in order to do the painting, was approximately between $7,000 and $8,000. And that includes the replacement of the loading dock area in the front, which was hit by a UPS truck. So, well, if the weather holds up, we'd hope to get this done within the next 3 to 7 weeks, just depending on the weather. I have 2 more bids coming in within the next 5 to 7 business days, and we should be good to go. It won't impact us doing business inside the building, so we just get started on it right away. Do you guys have any questions about the building or the project or anything like that?
I just have a comment that I really appreciate the investment here, that it's not like you have a normal retail business,
Yeah.
that this is an investment that you're making for the community, and it's in a very visible place. Bricks and Minifigs has really done a lot to class up that part of the street, and I appreciate you stepping forward, spending your own money to make Canby look better.
Well, I can honestly say that we wouldn't have been able to afford to do it without participating in this project with the city. And we recognize the fact that having an industrial building like T-Line on that corner is not the best option for the city. It's not the best option for us. We're trying our best to move our business to a better location that's better suited for manufacturing. We recognize as business owners that it deserves to be retail, and it deserves the proper attire for the location.
But we do have a lot out in the industrial park.
We welcome the opportunity if anyone wanted to contribute capital into the company or finance such a project. But we will do our best to make it look a lot better than it does now.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments?
No, sir, not from us.
Action.
Approve them
We need a
individually?
motion.
Are we doing each one individually tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Then, Chair Ayers, I move that we approve the facade improvement matching grant for up to $25,000 for T-Line Design.
And I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Hensley, second by Commissioner Parker to approve the matching grant of up to $25,000 for T-Line Design under the guidelines of the Downtown Canby Facade Improvement Program. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go back to the agenda item and pick up the sale, the public hearing on the sale of the property known as the Beak, a portion of the 6.1 acre URA owned property in the Canby Pioneer Industrial Park. Renata?
Yes. We've been approached with a cash offer of $6,500 to purchase a very small .1612 acre parcel of what was formerly the police site in the Canby Pioneer Industrial Park. It's a small triangular sloped piece that has 15-foot easements on 2 sides, so it is undevelopable. The neighboring properties, Tom and Donna Fitzpatrick approached the Urban Renewal Agency to purchase the site so that it makes their site more development ready in the future. And at a executive session with the URA board, we were directed to pursue a potential sale. So in the meantime, we've worked through the lot line adjustment application. We've negotiated a purchase and sale agreement pending your approval, and had a survey done. So pending your decision tonight, we would be ready to move forward with a sale if that is your wish. The sale is in the greater public interest because the site is undevelopable and no other reasonable buyer is out there for such a small limiting site. It would make both of the adjacent parcels, our 6.1 acre parcel as well as the Fitzpatrick's parcel, square and much more developable. It would put that small portion back on the tax rolls, earning tax increment, and helping to, the proceeds from the sale would go toward defraying some of the costs of the police facility. Not much, but some. And the alignment of the driveway right now curves and comes out near the corner of 4th and Sequoia, which is dangerous. With this property alignment, the Fitzpatricks could access their site more to the north, and that would be a safer ingress-egress to the site. For all of those reasons, we would encourage the sale. Happy to answer questions.
I would add one more thing to that for the public's information. We agreed to sell this particular parcel if it cost no money out of our pocket. And so all of our costs of surveys or that kind of thing were covered. But more importantly, it makes our piece of property more marketable because it takes an objection away from a developer of buying a piece of property that they have to maintain that they can't use in any way, shape, or form. So it actually is a benefit to us to do this. So.
I agree.
Any other comments? This is a public hearing, so.
We need you to actually open the hearing.
So I need to open a hearing. Do I need to read this thing, or do I have something to read on that, or just
No,
open the public
you
hearing?
can open the public
Okay,
hearing,
this.
call for proponents and opponents.
Right, this is an opportunity to open the public hearing on the sale of the piece of real property known as the Beak, and ask if there's anyone wishing to give testimony or ask questions. And hearing none, we'll close the public hearing, and now we'll accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we pass resolution URR 12-012, a resolution approving the sale of 0.1612 acres of publicly owned property to Tom and Donna Fitzpatrick for $6,500 cash, declaring the property not needed for public use and determining that their conveyance is in the public interest.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Daniels, second by Commissioner Hodson, to approve resolution URR 12-012, a resolution approving the sale of 0.1612 acres of publicly owned property to Tom and Donna Fitzpatrick for $6,500 cash, declaring the property not needed for public use and determining that the conveyance is in the public interest. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so we just took care of the resolution and ordinance too, right? All right, so now we're back to new business and some more facade improvement applications. It's nice seeing these applications starting to really flow in now, and we're starting to see some real positive impact, particularly in our downtown area. So the first item is the Trinity Catholic proposal.
have an application from Trinity Counseling for a $25,000 facade improvement project that includes new entrance structures, a new vestibule, covered entranceways, new stonework, improved handicap access ramp, exterior windows and doors, and new siding. We have with us today Scott Beck and Father Bruce Mikowski to talk about the project.
Can I get a clarification just before we start? On the agenda summary, it has the applications from Trinity Catholic, and here it's Trinity Counseling.
That's my mistake.
So it's Trinity Counseling?
Yeah.
Okay, just so we make sure the motion's correct.
So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Scott to discuss the project.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Renata for all the hard work that she does, and it's made this a good process for us, and so we thank you for that. Thank you for the opportunity to present the project. First thing, some people, you mentioned Trinity Counseling and Holy Trinity Old Catholic. Trinity Counseling actually is under the Trinity Old Catholic Church, Holy Trinity Old Catholic. So it's kind of a conjoint area. So we're using the facility that has a long history in Canby. It used to be the old school district offices. It's been lots of different things over the years, but we hope to make this a permanent home for us here in the community. We are not the owners. Greg Young owns the property, and you've probably seen some of the improvements that we've started to make in the courtyard, and just the property needed some attention. It had been neglected for several years. So there's actually 2 phases to this project. Some of the project is not included at all in the facade improvement, some of the structural changes that we're actually going to do to the building. So the facade improvement is basically that: doors and windows, sidings, repainting the whole building. We're going to try to clean up the roof because it's metal, it's been oxidized, it needs to be cleaned up. We're going to stain the brick, and then those canopies you see there over the entranceways. So I think it's going to look really sharp, and it's going to fit in with some of the other professional buildings, and it'll be a nice addition for the building. It's going to look nice when it's finished.
I guess I could talk a little bit about the concept. Really what we're looking to do is to add some interest to the building, provide a little bit more identity to each of the entrances. In the center, currently there's a breezeway. You can kind of see it over here. The top view, yeah, I'll stand up here. There's currently a breezeway right here which separates the building into a couple components. This is the sanctuary component where the Holy Catholic Church is. The Trinity Counseling is over in offices in this portion of the building.
Scott, are we looking at the north from?
This represents the south facade,
That's the south
which faces
side.
the alley.
Right, okay.
This center view is the north facade
Okay.
facing Third, and this would be the east
Right.
facade. So again, trying to add some visual interest to the building, provide identity to the various entrances, the offices, the vestibules on both the north and south elevations. Also in the process, improve the handicap access to the Trinity offices. The office portion is elevated up about 18 inches or so. So we're looking to improve those, improve the doors and windows, siding. The color concept, we're trying to do something a little bit different with the brick and put like a semi-transparent concrete stain on it to enrich in the appearance of it. We haven't necessarily selected them. I think we're going to experiment a bit with that. But that's the intent, and then to, again, repaint the siding and trim. Just kind of freshen it up. Any questions?
No, I think it looks, if it comes out looking like that, it's great.
I guess I do have a comment. I think this is one of the neat things that you guys are doing here, especially with Mr. Young, is that we're taking it from an old house